Imagine a man whose life was once the epitome of prosperity and happiness. A man so blessed that he had wealth beyond imagination, a loving family, and health that allowed him to enjoy every single moment. This man was Prophet Ayub. But what would happen if, all of a sudden, every blessing was stripped away? Most of us would crumble. But Ayub's story teaches a lesson that goes beyond mere patience. It teaches unbreakable faith. Ayub lived in a time when faith was personal, but visible in actions. He was known not just for his devotion to Allah, but for his generosity. If someone knocked on his door hungry, Ayub would feed them. If someone was in need of guidance, he would help them without hesitation. He was a man whose heart overflowed with compassion and whose life reflected the light of gratitude. But then came a storm, a trial so severe it would shake the foundations of anyone's soul. Ayub lost his wealth, one possession after another, until he was left with nothing. Then came illness, a condition so debilitating that even getting out of bed was a monumental task. Friends and neighbors who once admired him now avoided him, whispering about his misfortune, questioning why such calamity had fallen upon a righteous man. And yet, through all of this, Ayub did not falter. What makes Prophet Ayub extraordinary isn't just that he endured suffering, but how he endured it. There was no resentment, no blame, no anger at the divine decree. Instead, he turned to Allah with a heart full of submission, saying words that echo through time. Truly, adversity has touched me, but you are the most merciful of the merciful. This opening chapter of his story isn't just about loss, it's about the beginning of a spiritual journey, a journey that challenges the limits of human endurance and faith. And while his trials may seem unimaginable to us, they hold lessons that are timeless: patience, gratitude, and trust in Allah even when life seems utterly unfair. In the next part, we'll dive deeper into Ayub's early life, the blessings he cherished, and how his faith was already shaping him for the unimaginable trials that were about to come. The blessed life before the storm. Before the storm of trials, Prophet Ayub lived a life that many would call perfect. Picture vast lands stretching under the sun, herds of livestock grazing peacefully, and a home filled with laughter and warmth. Ayub was not just wealthy in possessions, he was rich in spirit. His heart overflowed with gratitude, and his every action reflected his devotion to Allah. His family adored him. His children grew up witnessing their father's integrity, kindness, and unshakable faith. Ayub treated every neighbor, every traveler, every stranger, as if they were part of his family. It wasn't just generosity, it was a lifestyle. People often marveled at how a man could maintain such humility while being blessed with so much. Yet, for Ayub, all of it was temporary, all of it a trust from Allah. He never let pride seep into his heart, never let wealth cloud his sense of gratitude. Ayub's nights were spent in worship, his days in service not only to his family, but to humanity. And his relationship with Allah was personal, intimate, and unshakable. He understood that blessings were not just rewards, they were responsibilities. Each coin, each piece of livestock, each moment of health was a test, a chance to grow closer to the Creator. But what made Ayub's story truly extraordinary was the balance between prosperity and humility. He could have boasted, become arrogant, or depended solely on his riches. Instead, He used his wealth to uplift others, to feed the hungry, to help the needy. He was living proof that true faith shines brightest not in hardship, but in the quiet, ordinary moments when no one is watching. And yet, little did he know that this chapter of abundance was merely a prelude. The life he loved, the family he cherished, the health he took for granted, they were all about to be tested. Allah, in his infinite wisdom, was preparing Ayub for a trial that would shake the world's understanding of patience and faith. Ayub's story teaches us that blessings are fragile, and the real measure of a person is not how they rejoice in wealth, but how they endure loss. His unwavering devotion, even before the storm, laid the foundation for a lesson that would inspire generations. When fortune fades, life has a way of humbling even the most blessed. And for Prophet Ayub, that moment arrived like a silent storm. One morning, he awoke to find that his wealth, which had been a source of comfort and security, was disappearing at a staggering pace. His vast herds, once the pride of his livelihood, were lost, taken by disease, theft, or misfortune. His lands, fertile and thriving, faced drought and ruin. Slowly, the tangible symbols of his prosperity slipped through his fingers. For most people, such a loss would breed despair, anger, or even resentment. But Ayub's response was nothing short of extraordinary. He did not curse fate, nor did he turn against Allah. Instead, he looked at his circumstances with clarity and wisdom. Ayub understood a truth that many struggle to grasp. Wealth is temporary, a test in disguise, not a guarantee of happiness or permanence. Yet the loss of material wealth was only the beginning. Soon, whispers began spreading among those who had once admired him. Friends distanced themselves, neighbors speculated, and even distant relatives avoided him. Some questioned his righteousness. How could a man so pious face such calamity? These voices could have broken anyone's spirit, but not Ayub's. His faith acted as a shield, protecting his heart from bitterness, envy, or despair. He remained steadfast, reminding himself of the countless blessings that were invisible to others. His family, his health though challenged soon to come, and his unshakable relationship with Allah. He sought solace not in riches, but in prayer, in reflection, and in the quiet moments of surrender that revealed the strength of his character. Even as his world crumbled, Ayub's story became a beacon of hope. He demonstrated that true strength is not measured by what you possess, but by how you respond when life takes everything away. His patience, tested early in this storm, began to inspire those who watched from afar. The seeds of a legacy were being sown not in comfort, but in resilience. The trial of the body, just when it seemed that Prophet Ayub had faced the worst of misfortune, life dealt a blow far heavier than the loss of wealth and status. His body, once strong and vigorous, became a battlefield of relentless suffering. Pain gripped him from head to toe. His skin broke out in sores that made every movement agonizing. Sleep became a distant memory, and even basic tasks felt impossible. Friends who had once envied his prosperity now avoided him, unable to bear the sight of his affliction. Imagine the despair any human might feel in such a moment. Every comfort stripped away, every source of joy replaced with relentless pain. Yet Ayub's heart remained anchored in faith. He did not scream in rage, nor did he demand answers from the heavens. Instead, he turned inward and upward, seeking solace in the divine. Every groan of pain became a prayer, every tear a testament to trust. The true power of Ayub's story lies not just in enduring suffering, but in the attitude he chose. While others might ask, "Why me?" Ayub asked, "What can I learn from this? How can I remain steadfast in my devotion?" His trial was not a punishment, but a test, a chance to prove that faith is strongest when the world is at its harshest. Even as his body weakened, his spirit did not. Neighbors whispered about him, some in pity, some in judgment. Yet he responded with patience, humility, and a heart full of remembrance of Allah. He inspired his family, showing them that true courage is measured not by victories in life, but by grace under suffering. In this moment, Ayub became a living symbol, a man who could lose everything and yet remain unbroken, a man whose patience illuminated the darkest corners of despair. His story challenges anyone who witnesses it, asking, how would you respond if your life, health, and happiness were all taken away? Could you maintain faith when the world turns cold and indifferent? Alone, yet unbroken, as the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, Prophet Ayub found himself increasingly isolated. His once bustling home, full of laughter and visitors, now echoed with silence. Friends had turned away, believing misfortune had tainted him. Even some family members struggled to understand the depth of his suffering. The world, it seemed, had abandoned him, but Ayub had not abandoned faith. Loneliness can be heavier than any physical pain. It gnaws at the soul, planting seeds of doubt and despair. Many would have shouted in protest, blamed fate, or even questioned the justice of life itself. But Ayub's heart remained anchored. Every day, he reminded himself that true companionship is not always found in people, it is found in Allah. His prayers became more intimate, his devotion deeper, and his reliance on the divine unwavering. Even in solitude, Ayub's patience shone like a beacon. He did not curse his circumstances or bemoan his plight. Instead, he accepted the reality of life with remarkable composure. Each moment of suffering became a lesson in resilience. Each pang of pain a reminder of the fleeting nature of worldly life. His example began to reach those who had turned away, silently challenging them to reflect on their own faith and gratitude. What makes Ayub's story extraordinary is that his strength was not passive. He did not simply endure. He embraced his trial as a means of growth. He reminded himself and anyone who would witness his story in the future that adversity is not a punishment but a test of character. And in this test, the human soul can either crack or rise, stronger and wiser. Even as isolation pressed upon him like a heavy cloak, Ayub's spirit remained luminous. His patience was not born from ignorance of suffering, but from deep understanding that life's trials are temporary and that the mercy of Allah is eternal. In his silence, he spoke louder than words ever could, showing the world the true meaning of faith, resilience, and trust in the divine plan. A test of faith beyond measure. By now, Prophet Ayub had endured the unimaginable. Wealth lost, health shattered, friends gone, and isolation pressing down like an endless night. Yet, even in the darkest hours, he never allowed despair to consume him. His story had become more than a tale of suffering. It was a testament to unshakable faith. Ayub's trials were not random. They were measured tests from Allah to reveal the strength of a heart fully devoted. Imagine the courage it takes to look at a life that has been stripped bare and still whisper, "Indeed, all is from you, and all will return to you." The human spirit, left to its own devices, often breaks under such pressure. But Ayub's spirit did something extraordinary. It soared. What is truly remarkable is that Ayub did not just endure passively. He engaged actively with his trials. When the body weakened, he prayed harder. When loneliness pressed in, he sought closeness to Allah. When doubt crept into the hearts of those around him, his patience became a living sermon. His story is a reminder that faith is not measured by comfort, but by resilience when all comfort is gone. Even the whispers of others' questions about why a righteous man suffers did not sway him. Ayub understood a truth that many struggle to grasp. Human perception is limited, and divine wisdom transcends what we can see. Every pang of illness, every loss, every sleepless night was part of a greater plan that would ultimately elevate him, not merely restore him. In this stage of his journey, Ayub became a symbol for the world, a model of how to remain steadfast when the storms of life rage the fiercest. He demonstrated that faith is not just belief in the good times, but a profound, enduring trust that holds firm even when life seems unfair. And yet, his story is far from over. While he endured these tests with patience and dignity, a final transformation awaited him, a moment that would turn his trials into a lesson for all humanity. His unwavering faith was not only about enduring suffering, it was about revealing the limitless mercy and justice of Allah through the life of a single man. The whisper of hope, even in the midst of relentless suffering, a faint glimmer of hope began to emerge for Prophet Ayub. For years, he had endured loss, illness, and isolation, yet his heart remained steadfast. That unwavering patience had not gone unnoticed. In the quiet moments of prayer, when the world seemed indifferent, a subtle whisper of divine mercy began to stir an assurance that his endurance would not be in vain. Ayub's story teaches us a profound truth. Hope often appears not with fanfare, but in quiet, almost imperceptible ways. It is a soft, persistent voice that says, "Hold on, your steadfastness will be rewarded," even as his body ached and his spirit was tested. Ayub felt the presence and unshakable certainty that Allah's mercy was near. His trials had already become a living lesson for others. Travelers passing by his home would hear of his patience and faith. Even those who had doubted him began to marvel at his composure. He had become a beacon in the darkness, a man whose unwavering devotion showed that true faith is not passive, but active, resilient, and luminous. Yet, hope does not erase struggle. Ayub still bore the marks of his suffering. Each day demanded patience, each night called for prayer. But now, there was a shift. His heart no longer questioned. His spirit no longer wavered. He understood that the very trials that seemed cruel were shaping him into a symbol of endurance that would inspire countless generations. In the midst of despair, Ayub began to experience moments of inner peace. He realized that even in suffering, one could find closeness to Allah. The pain that once seemed unending became a bridge to gratitude. Every hardship reminded him of life's transient nature and the eternal mercy of the divine. The whisper of hope grew louder with every day of steadfast patience. His story was no longer just about suffering, it was about transformation. Ayub had become a living example that patience, faith, and trust in Allah could withstand the harshest storms. The dawn of mercy. After years of unthinkable trials, a new chapter began to unfold in the life of Prophet Ayub. The relentless storm of suffering, which had tested every fiber of his being, was finally giving way to the first rays of divine mercy. His patience, unwavering even in the darkest nights, had reached its pinnacle, and Allah's response was about to manifest in ways both profound and miraculous. Ayub's prayers, whispered in the silence of isolation, were finally answered. The mercy that he had relied on in faith began to ripple through his life. Slowly, his health improved. The sores that had covered his body began to heal. The pain that had been his constant companion lessened with each passing day. For the first time in years, he could sleep without agony, eat without distress, and move without struggle. But Allah's mercy was not only physical, it was holistic. His wealth, long lost to misfortune, returned in abundance. His lands flourished again, his livestock multiplied, and his home, once empty and silent, became a place of life and laughter. The family that had stayed by his side through the darkest moments rejoiced, and even those who had doubted or abandoned him were reminded of the power of faith and patience. What makes this moment so extraordinary is not just the restoration of what was lost, but the lesson it embodies. Ayub's life demonstrates that suffering is not meaningless. It is a test, a process that purifies the heart and strengthens the soul. Every hardship he endured became a testament to the idea that Allah's wisdom surpasses human understanding. Even as joy returned, Ayub's humility remained intact. He did not boast of his recovery or wealth. He remained deeply grateful, recognizing that all blessings past, present, and future come from Allah alone. His story, now a living example of perseverance and divine mercy, inspired those around him and countless generations to come. Ayub's journey reminds us that no matter how relentless life's trials may be, patience and unwavering faith hold the power to transform despair into triumph. Triumph of faith and eternal lessons. The story of Prophet Ayub reaches its profound conclusion, a life that began in blessings, endured unimaginable trials, and emerged as a timeless beacon of faith, patience, and gratitude. His journey was not merely about suffering and recovery. It was a testament to the strength of the human spirit when anchored in unwavering trust in Allah. Ayub's final years were marked by restoration and peace. His health, once fragile, was fully renewed. His family thrived, their bonds strengthened by the lessons learned in adversity. Wealth returned, but it no longer defined him. His true richness lay in the lessons of patience and humility that he carried in his heart. The man who had faced scorn, illness, and isolation now stood as a symbol of triumph, not triumph over people or circumstance, but triumph over fear, despair, and the fragility of worldly attachments. Yet, Ayub's greatest victory was spiritual. Every trial he endured, every sleepless night, every pang of suffering had refined his character, deepened his devotion, and strengthened his reliance on Allah. He became the living proof of a universal truth, that patience is not passive waiting, but a courageous, active trust in divine wisdom. Even when the world seems unfair, his life conveyed a message louder than words. Endure with faith, and mercy will follow in ways beyond imagination. The lessons of Ayub's life spread far and wide. Scholars, travelers, and ordinary people shared his story for generations, teaching that patience, humility, and unwavering devotion can turn trials into triumphs. His name became synonymous with resilience, a man whose unwavering trust in Allah transformed suffering into a source of inspiration for all of humanity. As we reflect on his journey, it's clear that Ayub's story is not just history, it is guidance. It reminds us that life's hardships are temporary, that faith can sustain us when everything else falls away, and that true reward lies not in avoiding pain, but in how we respond to it. Prophet Ayub leaves a legacy that continues to shine, a reminder that no matter the trials, no matter the darkness, patience and faith illuminate the path to mercy, restoration, and eternal lessons that endure through time. And so, the story of Ayub concludes not with an end, but with a legacy that whispers across centuries. Patience is power, and faith is the key to the unseen mercy of Allah.